duties are to make sure that our citizens are provided good health care. Right now, we're talking about maximum of, let's say, $60,000 per year that we may have to pay if the bottom falls out of everything. And right now, we're talking about precautions that's being put in place to keep the county commission from having to pay. We will not be in this ball game without some skin off our knees. It's possible. It is possible. I agree, Commissioner Ezel. It's possible that the county commission could end up having to pay $5,000 per month. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's worth the risk.
Well,
The $50,000 is not going to bankrupt the Sumter County Commission. It might put us in a situation where we may have to tighten up on our belts. But $50,000 per year is not going to bankrupt the county commission. Because you're going to use that same $50,000 if the hospital closed, $60,000. If the hospital closed to a point where you're going to increase your ambulance service, you're going to pay to take your people out of the county, which increases their possibility they won't even make it to the doctor in time. So here, excuse me, sir, but I understand your concerns, but we're looking at health care for our people. We're talking about keeping health care under the.
I'm not against health care.
I'm not speaking directly. I'm not speaking directly to you. I'm speaking. Excuse me. We are talking about a situation where every commissioner around here, our constituents, use that hospital. I don't know if you've ever used a hospital. I don't know.
I've used it.
Good.
Johnny?
But here's the situation we have right here. It's not going to be a possibility that we will not have any skin off our knees in the future. It's possible. But with the reserve funds set up, if they're saying that there is no reserve fund, we will make sure there are reserve funds. I think at the presentation that Mr. Comer from Comer Capital gave, there will be reserve funds set up. And because of the fact they may not be in there, until the commission agrees to a resolution or a funding agreement, there are certain things you can't present. So all of that stuff would have to be brought back to the county commission. I'm sure prior, if I'm not mistaken, Attorney Pruitt, before any of the numbers, the numbers can't be shown until an agreement is reached, or we agree to a funding agreement, right? So they can't really put together something until you actually get it.
Ordinarily, the sequence of events would be if the county commission employed Coma and bond counsel, which it has not done, and has not directed me to work with them. And that is the reason I have not worked with them. Then you would put together a plan, a business plan, and that business plan would become a part of a bond statement.
Right, but that's part of the. But is that not part of bond counsel's job?
You won't. You make everybody else wait. So let me finish.
Go ahead, sir.
That would be the ordinary course of doing it, so that at that time, then a funding agreement would be presented to you all, and since one was presented, I made comments at the request of the county administrator on what the funding agreement said, because it did not have reserves and stuff like that, and I wanted y'all to have it. But as far as investigating everything, I have not done it because I've not been requested to do it. But the resolution would ordinarily be adopted after that. For example, we did not know that a public meeting was going to be called. I got the notice of a public meeting emailed to me after my close of business when I went on vacation on a holiday, and it was sent to the Record Journal and was already at the Record Journal before I returned on Tuesday. And then we get a letter from bond counsel saying that I had not been cooperating. The fact was he wasn't representing you because y'all hadn't hired him, and you hadn't hired Mr. Coleman, and I don't think the authority had.
No. Okay, thank you. Thank you. The bond is a healthcare authority bond, not a commission bond.
I understand that.
No, I was talking to everybody else. The healthcare authority is actually asking the county for a funding agreement to support the bond. The healthcare authority hired Coleman Associates as well as bond counsel, which Frank McPhillips, whose bond counsel works for. They were working with the county attorney. I think Mr. Pruitt and Frank McPhillips were emailing back and forward.
He emailed to me, but he told me that he had been employed to do this. And I have to take my direction from the county commission because I represent the county commission. I don't represent the authority.
Right.
And I don't represent Frank McPhillips.
Right. And I asked you,
I thought he was way out of line with his letter to Mr. Coleman. I'll tell you that.
Well,
I have not complained to the Bar Association, but I considered it.
because I asked you to review it, the funding agreement prior to our meeting.
I think you did.
Right. And so you were asked to review it.
But I was not. I was in a difficult position because you're chairman of the authority, but you're chairman of the commission as well. I frankly didn't know what to do because I didn't know what position you would take. And I made a question to Mr. McPhillips that I'm concerned because I represent each individual board member as well as the board as a whole, and I didn't want to see you get in trouble. And he opined that you would not, and that's fine. And I think you've taken his advice. But the point is that at the time you asked me, I didn't know if you were asking me as chairman of the authority or chairman of the commission. I looked at, since you did ask me, I looked at the funding agreement and I sent a letter to Lucinda to give to the board as a whole.
No, as the chairman of the commission, I think that information was conveyed through our county administrator to ask you to review it. So having done it that way, I'm pretty sure maybe you discerned that it was from the chairman of the commission from that perspective right there. But I think that everything that we've talked about is important, but there's nothing I've heard that we should not move forward with the decision to assist the hospital. It would be a tragedy, in my opinion, for our hospital to close, to lose local control of our health care in Sumter County. I understand your concerns, and we can't eliminate every concern that we have, but we can minimize them to the best of our abilities to make sure that the county will not be held in account as much as possible, but it won't be 100%. So we're looking at a maximum of $60,000. The property will be given to the county commission's collateral. It have the first lien opportunity on it. Don't know what it'd be worth, but you can sell it for whatever it's worth to sell some of the debt. But there won't be any fail-proof things to say we won't have any skin in the game in the long run. I can understand the concerns. But every decision that we make, they will be made under the contingency that we could be having to spend some money out of pocket. And, the commissioners have any comments at this time?
I don't think that $5,000 is a whole lot of money, but look like we got a lot of discrepancy. Ms. Coughlin asked for a resolution, and she asked for an audit. And I know that some of us are passionate about it, and I believe we need to have a work session where we can find this money and see if we can come up with a solution to fund that. I don't think it'll pass tonight because we haven't discussed it in depth, and I see that a couple people are not on board with it. That's my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
So tonight we've heard that there were issues with the funding agreement and the resolution that stated that it did not indicate that the $5,000 per month was included in the agreement, right?
Well, okay. I want to state this.
Yes, sir.
I may have done the math wrong, and I may not have. But if you take $1,480,000 and divide that and do all the math, it comes out to about $7,500 a month. Well, that was with I think I did a 1.9 interest rate.
That would be the percentage of amount that the county would be required to pay back.
Well, who pays the other, the $2,500? Because the loan will be, and we're talking about a loan of $7,500 a month.
I'm not sure how you come up with your calculations either, sir.
Okay, simple interest calculator. Go ahead.
They're quoting, $5,000 a month is going to give you $60,000, but the actual debt service for the year is estimated at $84,000.
Okay, that sounds.
So
okay.
It's going to be more than.
See what happens is over the last I think 3 years, Commissioner Ezell, there has been an excess for the 2011 bond issue that has been going to the healthcare
So
authority.
therefore, I go back again, you're taking money from that, the excess to pay for this new bond.
That's monies that goes to the healthcare authority right now, and the healthcare authority has agreed to pledge those monies to pay toward the new bond. Yes, sir, that is correct. That's monies that you've been getting in excess of the sales tax that's been coming in from the city
So
of York.
you're taking reserves from the first.
No, not reserve, excess monies. Okay, say the debt service.
Whatever you want to call it.
No, you're getting the reserve funds and the excess mixed up. The excess has nothing to do with the reserve funds. Okay, if the bond issue costs $120,000 per year, but we're getting $150,000. That's $30,000 that would go in excess that comes back to the healthcare authority every year. Nothing to do with the reserve funds or anything else. It's just the amount of money that's generated from the 1% sales tax and the chem waste funds. Over the last 3 years, we've been generating $26,000 to $30,000. I believe the correct numbers.
The overages.
So that has nothing to do again with the reserve funds.
Now, are you saying that the $2 million that we signed for before, it's still in the bank? That's what you're saying?
No, ma'am, I didn't say that. I'm saying to you, what are you asking? I'm sorry.
Because
No, those monies have been used to satisfy debt as far as the renovation of the hospital, to buy beds and everything else for the hospital, and to put a roof on the hospital. So those funds have been expended for the 2011 bond issue. But
now they told us, when we signed it, that it was supposed to pay off the debt.
It did, yes, ma'am.
But
So-
some of the debts
No, ma'am.
has gone back to 2012.
Well, we have a tax attorney who's actually looking at some of that because that was our opinion as well, that everything that after the first bond issue was secured, that all the tax issues were satisfied. So we do have a tax attorney who's working on that with the Internal Revenue Service to try to determine where those additional taxes came from after the 2011 bond issue paid off, all the taxes that we were in the press that were paid off. So that is something that's being looked at.
So now, I have not seen any place where charges has been filed against anybody
Right. And
as far as court documentation.
the Board of
So
Directors.
now have you all, I know that Mrs. Burris said that you all have considered it, but I don't think you've gone through with it though.
Yes, ma'am. The board has taken actions to take legal action against the entity that was operating the hospital that failed to pay the payroll taxes. So we have an attorney who is working on going after that individual. And in the last meeting that we had, the board voted to begin an audit in 2015. I think Ms. Cocker brought up a concern at one of the other meetings that if the waste tax generated additional monies, that the hospital could stand to receive additional money. So we voted that if that did happen, that the authority would be willing to put a percentage. I think we voted up to 15% toward the debt. We voted on one other thing, the audit, additional funds that could possibly come from the chemical waste tax, and the lawsuit to proceed with an attorney to go after the operating entity that was operating the hospital when the taxes were not paid. That meeting took place last Tuesday. So the minutes hadn't had a chance to be transcribed as of yet.
Minutes are not transcribed.
No, sir. But if they need to be transcribed, we did vote to continue our meeting until tomorrow. So if a copy of those minutes are needed to indicate to the commission that that is what happened, the meeting that we had last Tuesday was continued until tomorrow.
Now, when we signed the bonds, y'all had 5 members. Now you have 3. What happened to the other 2?
Well, the healthcare authority has been operating as a 5-member board. I think Attorney Cross and Attorney Pruitt, during y'all's research, found out that it was a 3-member board.
Attorney Cross researched it, and he said the articles required a 3-person board.
Yes, sir.
And did not find the minutes or anything where the board had been increased to 5. But he found that for a time period there were 5, and 2 people resigned.
Right, and that's the reason why I'm assuming that the city of York never replaced those two after they found out that we are supposed to have a 3-member board, which we already have right now in place. So you have to have 3 members. We thought we had to have 5-member board in order to conduct business, but after you found out that you're only supposed to have 3 anyway, they found that no need to, of course, put 2 additional members on the board because according to them, there's only supposed to be 3 anyway. And the city of York has the appointing authority. That's their discretion to leave it at 3 or change the articles to 5. But right now, I'm assuming that they're deciding to leave it at 3. Attorney Cross.
Well, actually, that's correct. The articles of incorporation, as best I can tell, were never amended from the beginning, and it called for 3 directors. But under the law, if you want to change the number, it must be initiated by the Healthcare Authority Board. That board would in turn make a request to the City Council. Then the City Council would either accept or reject the request of the board.
Thank you, sir.
And it has to be an odd number.
Thank you, sir. Did I answer your question, Ms. Jackson?
Yeah.
The commissioners.
Herman has a question.
Mr. Ward.
Is there any, other than the waste tax allocation and the City of York, the 1 cent tax, is there any involvement with the county commission, with the hospital? In other words, is the hospital providing is the county providing any funding for the hospital other than the allocation from the waste tax fund and the 1 cent from York?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Ward.
In my understanding, I guess this might be a question that each individual commissioner might have to answer. My understanding that
just to the chair, please.
I don't think you're going to be answering this for everybody.
I can allow them to. I can allow them to speak, but you got to address it to the chair, please. Sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Am I understanding that the county wishes to not have any financial involvement with Hill Hospital? Is that the concern, that the county wants to make sure that the waste tax and the 1 cent tax will be enough to pay the bonds without the county commission having any financial involvement or stake in the hospital?
I will direct that question to each commissioner.
That's what I said in the first place. That's what
I'm saying the protocol. Yes, sir.
No, say the question again. Exactly.
And my first question was that does the county commission have any financial involvement with Hill Hospital at this time?
No.
Other than the waste tax allocation and the approving of the bond where the City of York had the 1 cent tax. Mr. Armstead said no. So my next question was, is it my understanding that the county commission wishes not to be financially involved with Hill Hospital?
I'm not saying we can't be involved financially, but we need to have some kind of way of controlling or have some kind of say-so over it. I mean, to me, the way this looks now is it's like writing a check and just going here. Do what you want. I mean, that's the way it looks to me. And there's nothing to protect the county in this.
Has the county...
And I know you say $5,000, $7,500 is not a lot of money, but $1.5 million is a lot of money. $1.5 million is a lot of money. And, you're talking 30 years. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Mr. Campbell.
I know that we've done the bond issue in the past, and I know the importance of health care here in Sumter County. And me as a commissioner, I want to see Hill Hospital stay open. And for me, I know that as of right now, the county hadn't had to pay any funding from the county commission to Hill Hospital. And I'm hoping that we can get all of our questions answered as commissioners as soon as possible. I know the Healthcare Authority has been here since this has been going on, and I'm hoping you all as commissioners get with them and find out what you need to find out going forward. Because one, as I stated, I want to see Hill Hospital stay open. And I feel that with the new programs that they have put in and they're trying to implement it will be a good thing for the citizens of Sumter County. And you look at ambulance service, as our chair stated, we got the best quote with the ambulance service that we're partaking on now, which was a major difference in the pricing from the ambulance service we had prior. So you look at that, we have a makeup of nothing but a large percent of elderly people, citizens here in the county. Something happened, how can they get to Meridian quicker than they can get to York from either direction of the county? So my thing is that I want to do what we need to do to keep Hill Hospital open. And up to me, I'm ready to vote tonight. Because I'm ready to just make my vote known tonight. I am. I don't know about the other commissioners, but that's just how I feel. But to answer your question, Mr. Ward, no, as of right now, the county is not paying anything. We've been a backing because for our great credit rating. But I'm hoping that as commissioners, and especially if you have questions for the hospital authority, they're here, the chairs here, their financial advisors are here. And so, and then if you have questions that you need to ask from our administrator, please ask them and our county attorney. But that's something we need to do for the citizens of Sumter County to make sure that go forward.
Mr. Hall.
I don't want to close, but I really don't have a whole lot to say. Look like we're talking back and forth. We ain't coming up with no money or no plans. So that's my thing. I think we should come up with a plan, but I just got here.
Mr. Walker.
Well, I would like to see the hospital open. Also, I would like to see adequate records of what has been going on. Now, we can't. We really need an audit every year to see where you're going, and you just can't run a business and don't keep up with your records. You got to have records. You don't know if you don't keep up with records, you don't know what you're doing. So it needs to be adequate records kept. I'm a diehard for the hospital. I would like to see it stay open, but it's got to be a change from what has been in the past. Somebody, somewhere, knows what went on, what is going on. And if you run a business, you got to keep records of what you're doing. That's the only way you can run it.
Mr. Jackson.
I ditto what Mr. Commissioner Walker and the other commissioners have said. Yes, I want to see the hospital open, but not at the sacrifice of Sumter County. Now, we need to get an audit of that hospital, as well as find out where we're going, because we keep saying we have not spent any money for Kim Ways. But then, I got on the phone, however, several people have gotten the credit for it, and called Governor Bentley in California while he was out in California to tell him that, hey, my cities in my district are broke, as well as the other entities in Sumter County need some money. So we need to go into these reserve funds. And they release those reserve funds. That's the only way. Now, what's going to happen to us in 2015? That's my question. Where are we going to get this money from to be able to pay this $1.5 million debt as well as the $2 million debt? Now, that's my question, because right now, we don't have nothing. And we got to face the facts. Kim Wace hasn't shown me anything yet. I don't know about the rest of it. I'm waiting on it.
Is there a deadline, Mr. Armstead, on the bond? because there's been quite a bit of discussion on it. Is there, in other words, is this something that can be decided later, or is it urgent?
It's urgent, Mr. Ward, but I don't think there's an immediate need to vote on it tonight unless it's the desires of the commission.
Is there a plan, if the hospital can't survive and closes, does the county have a plan then in place for additional ambulance service or another 24-hour health care emergency facility? Does the county commission have a plan if Hill Hospital fails?
If we do, I haven't heard it, Mr. Ward, no.
I would just like to, as a concerned, speaking as a concerned citizen here now, I'm a lay person, I don't have all this expertise in financial statistics that you guys have, but I'm concerned about one thing. You know, I served on that board approximately 6 years, you know, going back maybe 6 years ago. And I saw how the hospital operated. I ain't even going there. But what I'm concerned about, if the hospital is operating in the black now, and it's my understanding that ever since you all, I mean, the new people came there, the hospital has been operating at full capacity. Now, when I was on that board more than approximately 6 years ago, we said that if we could have just 5 patients in the hospital at all times, we would make a profit. Now the patient load is about 3 times higher than it is now, and we still got into all of this financial trouble. Now, my question is, if the hospital, if we're paying our bills now, why is the hospital in imminent danger of closing? Now, I know we mentioned the tax bill. I don't know now if it's $300,000, $600,000, $900,000. We're supposed to have a $200,000 possible liability as it relates to lawsuit. Now, that's put us at $1,000,001. Now, y'all talking about getting $1,500,000. We don't know how much is unresolved out there, et cetera, et cetera. What the heck the $1,500,000 going to do 6 weeks or 2 months after you get it if you pay all these people out? Y'all will be back here, you should be back here then 6 months later asking for another $1,500,000. Now when does
that's no, Mr. Ghost. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. And as a former board member,
I hope that makes sense.
You're raising a question that I'm sure others wanted to have answered. I think we've been answering that question all night. And here's my point: that as a former board member, you should know that many of the patients that the hospital is getting is detox patients, and you should know also that the reimbursement on those patients is not as much as it would be an acute care patient. As a former board member, you should know that if you're operating in the black right now and you have the debt that's already been described tonight, that if you're already $1.something million in the red, not counting the operating from March, April, but we're talking about then. Now we're operating in the black, not counting the debt you already have. So you're a resident right there in the city of York, where the hospital is a vital entity, not only York but the entire county. And Mr. Ward asked the question, what's the county doing now? The county's not doing anything. The county, that's a county hospital. It may be named after York, but that's a county hospital that supports the entirety of the county. When they go with a patient from Ward, South Ward, Quatopa, they go to Hill Hospital. Is going to be the first place they ask what they want to go. A patient can go anywhere they want to go, but Hill Hospital is there. And if it can't take care of the patient with the needs that they have, they can always transport them. They can get the vital signs together. There are people in here right now who have had the opportunity or the need for that hospital, and they would probably tell you it saved their lives. So to answer your question, as a former board member who should be more familiar, because I know that some of the board members, right, excuse me, sir, but some of the board members have actually sat down with you and expressed and explained it to you from A to Z how we got here. So it is very plain as far as the management company came in. Hill Hospital Board of Directors, the Housing Authority Board of Directors were advisors at the time. The hospital authority did not know that Hospital Solutions 2 were not paying payroll taxes.
That's what the board is setting up for. No, you guys setting up for to let this happen. That's my concern.
No, sir. No, sir. Mr. Gold. No, because you've got to be quiet, sir. And as I was saying, Mr. Golson, you're talking apples and oranges. The 2011 bond issue it eliminated the taxes that were owed prior to Hospital Solutions coming in as an operating entity. The taxes that we're talking about right now did not occur until they took over. They did not pay the payroll taxes. We have an attorney to go after Hospital Solutions to recuperate, to recover any funds that they did not pay. We have a tax attorney working on that. We also have an attorney working on the 2 litigation lawsuits that we have. We have one from an attorney, and we have another from Rural Imaging, I believe. Those 2 lawsuits would be part of the funding agreement to eliminate those. If those things are eliminated, the hospital could take that debt off the book if the funding agreement would take care of those and continue to operate in the black. The hospital authority came to the county commission a month or so ago and talked about the new programs that had been implemented, the things that the hospital was doing, and home health as far as innovations and things we're trying to do to increase the patient number of the census of home health. So all of those things have been answered. I'm sorry you hadn't been at every meeting that we've had. And again, I would think that as a former board member that you would be aware of all these things already happening. But we appreciate your comments. Ms. Bird?
I just wanted to clear up one thing that Mr. Golston said and make a comment about one of the others. Yes, when the first bond was issued, it was during the time that Mr. Golston was serving those taxes, but it came up under that board as well. So as a board sitting there as the board of directors, not as an advisory board, it was occurred under them, approved it under them at that time. So, I mean, so what can you say? That they were there. But the hospital is never and never will be able to function in the red, in the black, with 3 patients. It is no way. We are 33.
Mr. Ghost.
3 or 5. We will not be able.
Ms. Bird, continue.
The hospital will never, ever be able to do anything with 5 or 3 patients. You have to have patients in there in order for the hospital to survive. Now, along with the detox program, like you said, you don't get much reimbursement for detox. But at this point, with the emergency room and the detox patients, is what's keeping us going as well as we can go now. But you have to have patients in the hospital to get a higher rate of reimbursement. So, I mean, we're 33 beds, so you're going to have at least half of that or more in order for us to do anything. Because even with those patients, you have to have a full capacity of employees. The public health department says that there must be certain things there in order for you to keep your doors open. So if you got 3 there, you have to have the same as you have 15. So it does not matter whether you got that, but even if you have 15, you might have to have a few more employees because there are other things that you have to do. You have more cooks, you have more cleaning, and all of that. But you have to have a certain amount of employees there in order to have the doors open, whether it's 1 patient there or 20 or 33. So that's just the way that is.
Remember,
I was sitting here, and 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I bought a loaf of bread for $1 less. Things changes. Things are more expensive now, as Mr. Wilson was saying. Where 2, 3 patients or 5 patients, it takes more now. It takes more money to operate, and he knows that too. He can't operate his home with the same money that he operated before. Now, I have never seen, and I'm really ashamed of us here in Sumter County that we were so against keeping a hospital open. That's health care for Sumter County. It's not just for the citizens of New York. It is for Sumter County. I appreciate Marcus and you and Brother Ben Walker and Brother Hall. Really, we have to just wake up. we need the hospital. We need Hill Hospital. We got capable management now. We got person that's for finances now, and as far as an audit, I understand you need an audit. If you're going to operate, I was in business, Mutual Savings Life Insurance for 26 years. We always, you need an audit. You need an audit. But by the same token, you need the hospital. Now, if management has put in place an audit for 2015, then I can't see what's the hold of it. You know, I mean, then you argue about operating in the black. Wouldn't this man know whether you're operating in the black or not? I don't think he was standing and just tell a bold lie like that. You're doing something. We're doing something now to affect the entire county, Sumter County. It's not just York. You know, people come through the emergency room day and night, and they don't just come from York, Alabama. They come from the entire Sumter County.
Thank you, Reverend Bird. Mr. White.
Just say, in y'all consideration, I want you all to consider all the indigent people in the county that you're saying no to when you say a no to your hospital. Because we ain't like Piggly Wiggly. We have to service those people. And we don't say because you ain't got no insurance, we ain't going to see you. But each one of you all went to each one of those people door. And it gets me upset to see you commissioners sitting around that table. You know you've been at those people's house. Ask for their vote. And now you're going to tell them, we ain't going to give you no health care. That don't even sound right.
Bad.
Think about it. We see them with insurance and no insurance. We don't fuss and fight with them. They come to Hill Hospital, we don't even sue them. That's where your money at.
I got a question. Why are y'all all up here badgering the commission?
Mr. Easy,
Badger.
We not badgers.
address the chair, please.
Isn't this
Well, why is everybody here badgering
you
them?
need to know this is a public meeting.
It is a public meeting.
So what's
but
the
y'all are
meaning
making
of
us to be out the bad guys.
Well, you sound like bad guys.
Let's get off.
Shout it out, please, sir.
Well, I'm not the board. I'm not the York Hospital board. I didn't get y'all in this situation.
We didn't either.
Somebody's got to be responsible.
Well, we service your energy.
Somebody's got to be
Mr. Ward,
responsible.
did you have another question?
Actually, Mr. Armstead, my question about the urgency. Like I said, it's been quite a bit of discussion. The question that I asked about a deadline. In other words, is the commission working against a deadline? Is this something that needs to be done like in 30 days, 90 days? Is this a good idea? I mean, is there urgent in this debt that you're discussing? Can payments be made? Mr. Lewis said that they're operating in the black man. He suggested that there are programs put in place that's going to increase revenue. Does the $900,000 or more or less have to be paid all at once to the IRS? Would they accept payments $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month from the excess that is generated by Hill to eliminate this big debt? And if not, have they said you got to pay this now, or you got to pay this in 6 months or 90 days? You understand my question?
Yes, sir.
Is there an urgency here?
Right now we have the tax attorney who's in constant consultation with the IRS, and there are plans, because right now they wanted us to pay $5,000 per month, but we told them that no, we can't do that, to hold it off until we are able to...
Say that again, Mr.
The tax attorney... Mr. Ghost, please, sir.
Okay, I apologize.
Yes, sir. That's okay. Just we have a tax attorney who's working with the Internal Revenue Service. As you may or may not know, there's a lien against the hospital right now. The tax attorney has been able to hold the IRS off from executing that lien. So that's the only reason that the hospital doors are still open right now, because we do have a tax attorney who is staving off the Internal Revenue Service. I can't sit here and say how long the Internal Revenue Service will agree to talk with them, but the request came back in October for the funding agreement and the resolution. So it has been going on for quite some time now, since October.
Did I understand you to say that a $5,000 a month payment to the IRS would hold them off?
No. I said that there was something that the attorney asked if we could afford to do right now, and we told him no.
Well, then how can you afford to pay the other $5,000?
Mr. Ezell.
I'm just asking.
I understand. I'm going to say, as we continue to answer these questions, you keep coming up with the same question. That question was answered. The hospital authority.
No, that question's not been answered to me.
Listen, okay, let me try it one more time. The hospital authority came and gave a presentation to the county commissioners about the programs, the new programs, what we're doing as far as trying to make sure that the patient base is increased, making sure that, because the hospital, again, is operating in the black. It's operating in the black. You have three things going on. You have taxes and 2 litigation lawsuits that are pending against the hospital. So we have tax attorneys in place. The hospital board has assured you that an audit will be done in 2015. It's been passed in the minutes. Mr. Walker has expressed his concern about making sure that we get some information. The hospital authority has agreed to do a quarterly report, financial report, to the county commission to make sure that the county commission is abreast as far as what's happening financially with the hospital. If you want one more quickly than that, if you want one every other month, no problem. You could present that so that the county commission would be aware of what's happening with the hospital. But right now, a quarterly report will be provided. 2015 audit, already voted on by the healthcare authority, to be put on the books. We'll do that. If there's a problem with the resolution, if it doesn't say this or say that, well, we can direct the attorney to work with Ms. Cockle, whoever they need to work with, fix the resolution, fix the funding agreement if there's a problem with it. So that's the only thing that we have right now is we're talking about a major, it's probably one of the biggest things that ever come across our table as a commissioner. Healthcare in Sumter County, sir. Healthcare in Sumter County. For our people, not just yours. It's for the entirety of the county. Indigent patient. Indigent patient means that people come to the hospital they can't pay. That's how debt. I'm talking to everybody. I'm not just speaking to you. I'm sorry if I'm looking at you. I'll try to focus other ways. But the entirety of the county picks up those indigent care patients. Those people can't pay sometimes, but the hospital still has to see them. You can't just.
What Mr. Ezell is asking is, you've suggested that there is a surplus of money. What he's asking, if I understand him correctly, is can that money be used to pay or make payments to the IRS instead of borrowing money and paying a whole $1 million at once? If your tax attorney suggested that they might take $5,000, could that money, instead of using that money to pay back $1 million, could that money be used to make payments to the IRS, which will eliminate the great majority of the bond that is needed, if I'm understanding?
Well, it would eliminate even the need of the bond.
No. So the tax attorney, again, I think the question was asked, why can't you pay the $5,000 right now? Okay, so if you took the $5,000 and we agreed to that, I think the attorney, when he talked to us, said that they wanted to start off with $5,000 per month. In a couple months, it was going to go to $12,000. Oh. So that's how they're trying to get monies until, I think it's even been conveyed to them that we're working with the county commission to try to get a funding resolution passed, to get a funding agreement so that we can take care of the taxes. So that's been one thing why they wanted to do a payment plan to say, okay, we'll take this, but we still need some good faith on your part to say we need something coming in. So we still have the tax attorney holding the Internal Revenue off from executing that tax lien against the hospital. So that's been one of the conversations that we have been having constantly with the tax attorney. So I understand that, if you're struggling right now, even if you could pay $5,000 per month to the Internal Revenue Service and your tax attorney can hold it off, because you're going to have some other expenses, especially when we're not saying we're operating in the black to a point where you're operating in the black and things are booming. We're saying that the hospital is not losing money right now. There are many other things that need to be taken place as far as improving on the home health and improving on the advertising, community involvement, bring the school system involved. All these things are on the table as far as doing grant writing.
Well, what Mr. Ezell was asking, which went back to my question about the county.
Yes, sir.
You suggested that the surplus of the bond of the tax revenue that you were getting to pay the first bond,
yes, sir,
was in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000.
Yes, sir.
Did I understand you to say
yes,
that?
Sir.
But the money needed to pay this new bond will be in the neighborhood of $5,000 a month.
Yes, sir.
So that's half. So if that money is being used to secure or to pay towards the new bond, and that $30,000 runs out, then will the hospital or will they be generating enough money to continue to make those $5,000 payments and my question to that was, that being the case, would the IRS, I mean, you may have answered, would they accept payments? And in other words, the payments that you'll have to pay on the new bond, would the IRS accept that instead of having to pay it all at once? I think you answered. You said that they would take about 5 for a while,
right?
And then they say they're going to go up.
Right. Because at $5,000 per month to pay off, if it stayed at the highest estimate, $900,000, for example, you never pay it off.
So if you took the $30,000 that you have and paid $5 a month, you're saying that might will buy you 4 or 5 months.
Right.
Then you're back in the same situation.
Exactly. That if I understand the question correctly.
Did I understand your line of thinking?
Well, my question is still the $5,000. All right, that's going to come out of the general fund, correct?
If you ever have to pay it, yes, sir.
Okay. And that, to me, would jeopardize payroll because it's coming out of the general fund.
No, sir, not immediately, Mr. Ezel. I mean, I understand.
Eventually.
It could eventually, but right now, you're not operating at a point where $5,000 would break the county. I mean, you keep looking over there, but I'm saying to you, $5,000 is a lot of money. $5,000, the county could absorb a $5,000 loss if you had to do it. But right now, you would have a reserve fund set up to a point where if it happened, you come around the table, we need to come up with $5,000 per month because the hospitals need $5,000 per month that we're having to pay. So, yes, it will eventually come, it would come out of the general fund. Yes, the hospital would be worthy of us making a funding agreement to have health care for our people in Sumter County, the ones that you represent, I represent, and all the 4 commissioners around this table represent.
Well, I want to make one thing straight. I'm not against health care in Sumter County, and I'm not against Hill Hospital. And, well, I may have fooled you, but I'm just trying to get the facts and the answers. So, I mean, I don't want to make a $1.5 million decision without knowing the facts, okay? So I'm just asking the questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
But I'm not against Hill Hospital. I just want to know what the facts are. And right now, I still don't know the facts.
Well,
I hadn't seen anything in writing. We're just talking.
Let me break this one down to you then, okay? If the hospital, just a second, if the hospital closes, you understand that the county commission currently subsidizes about $10,500 per month. That's because you have a local hospital. And the bids that you do are contingent that the ambulance services that services Sumter County can take those people to a local hospital. If that hospital closes, you won't have that hospital to take those patients to. Those patients will have to be taken to Greene County, Tuscaloosa, or Meridian. That could increase your ambulance services up to 40%. If that 40% increase have to take place, that $5,000 that you would have to have your hospital open, you'd be paying for ambulance service and still wouldn't have a hospital.
But with all due respect, Mr. Armstead.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
That 40% is just a number you're telling me. I mean, okay, 40%.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean nothing to me. I don't know what. I need some paperwork.
Well, you do math. You do math pretty quickly. $10,500 per month. A 40% increase is going to be about $45,000 per month increase.
Are you sure on that 40?
I'm quoting that.
40% on that.
Yes, I'm quoting that which Mitchell Snipes, who's the owner of the current services that we have, gave to me. He quoted that to me.
I have to see it. I'm just saying.
Yes, sir.
You're throwing numbers out to me that.
Okay, let's use logic then. Let's use logic. Okay, would you agree that?
We didn't use logic to me since we've been sitting here. So go ahead.
Yeah, but here's one thing, Commissioner Ezel. We can say we're for something. We can say we want to support something. But actions speak louder than words. Everything I've heard has almost been a reason why we shouldn't do this. Let's come to the table and come up with a way of indemnifying the county as much as possible. I'll let you have the floor. I would suggest the funding agreement has in it already, and if it don't, we can have our attorney to make sure that funding agreement states that $5,000 per month will be paid to the county commission or placed in an account or whatever needs to be said. We can say the healthcare authority has already passed a motion to say that the hospital will have It didn't say may. It will have an audit every year. We stated that the Healthcare Authority would give a quarterly report to the Sumter County Commission every quarter, financial report, indemnifying the county even more. If the chem waste bill ever generates a lot of money, the hospital is written in there to get some money. We made a motion the other night stating that if that's the case, we would allocate up to 15% of those funds to go to that fund to be decided by the county commission and the hospital authority to decide how those funds will be spent. Everything that we can possibly do. If there's a problem with the resolution, if the resolution is not 100% accurate as far as words, let's fix the resolution. Every concern that has been brought to the table tonight has been addressed. If there is some missing, commissioners, bring it to my attention. Mr. Moore.
Yes, sir. I'm all for the health care, but I'm also for the employees that work under you all here for the county. Now, we hadn't had a raise in, 3 years? 3%. 2 of it went on taxes. Okay, you all got buildings that need worked on here also. And then you all going to be able to pay this here. How many years you all going to have to pay this money? 30 years. You all have it for 30 years?
Well, Mr. Moore.
If it happens. I'm just asking a question.
Mr. Moore, actually, the Sumter County Commission wouldn't have to pay a quarter unless the hospital was not able to pay the $5,000 per month.
Right now they're not.
Right. They hadn't had.
So how many times did you all have to pay to get them up to par?
None unless something dramatic happens with the
sale. Right now they want you though, right?
No, they're not asking initially.
Yeah, they asking.
No. Initially, listen. Okay, I'm going to see if I can explain it one more time. The Healthcare Authority is asking for the good faith and credit of the Sumter County Commission to enter into a funding agreement. The Healthcare Authority issuing a bond issue. The Healthcare Authority doesn't have the credit worthiness to go at it by itself. The Healthcare Authority is already being funded by the City of York by a 1% sales tax, as well as $50,000 that comes from chemical waste management. Not yet, sir. Right now, the Sumter County Commission agreed to I forget the name of it, but the $50,000 that goes to the hospital. The county commission agreed in 2011 that if the waste tax fails to produce that $50,000, that the Sumter County Commission would be responsible for paying that $50,000. During that time, the Sumter County Commission has not had to, except one time when there was some problem with the bill. I think Ms. Cockle had to pay 2 months, but the money was gotten back once the trust fund released money. So the commission hadn't had to pay anything. So right now, the Sumter County Commission is being asked by the Healthcare Authority, not for any money right now. We're asking for the good faith and credit worthiness. It's almost like a cosign. And we're asking the county commission to kind of cosign for this loan, to use your good faith and credit for this. The hospital authority is going to pay the county commission $5,000 per month to retire the debt. The other monies that's going to use is going to be coming from the overages that the hospital authority currently gets from the overages from the sales tax and the chemical waste monies. Over the last 3 years, there's been about 30,000 down to 25 to 30,000 overages that the healthcare authority currently gets. Those monies are going to be pledged to satisfy the debt, to retire the debt of this current agreement that we're asking for. So I understand your concerns about the buildings and all of that, but the county commission right now wouldn't be responsible for paying anything unless all of those negative things took place. The sales tax for the City of York went down the drain to the point where it couldn't support it. Chemical waste couldn't support the $50,000. The reserve fund was depleted. If that's the case, we're going to have a whole lot more problems than the health care problem. We're going to have a whole bunch of them. So I understand your concerns as an employee, but the health care authority is not asking the county commission for any money right now. We're asking for his credit. And you know, if you co-sign with somebody and they don't pay, that means you got to pay. But we're not talking about the health care authority asking the county commission for anything right now other than the good faith and credit.
Question.
Yes, sir.
How many times you all keep signing y'all name out there, and then you're going to mess your credit up?
Well,
I'm just asking a question.
I think the questions are asked from the perspective that I can say, what if all of us walk out there and lightning strike all of us dead? We wouldn't have this conversation next time. So, I mean, those are the what if type questions we're asking tonight. What if? What if? What if? What if the county can't pay? What if the county can't pay its bills right now? We're gonna come up with a way to do it. We have obligations out there right now that the county pays X amount of dollars for many things. Equipment that we just had a funding agreement with. We got monies out there for probably the jail out there that we pay on a monthly basis from the citizens' monies that come into this county. We paying for a jail. All of that stuff. What if the tax base dropped? We couldn't pay it. We still have to pay it. Or go into bankruptcy. But I don't think counties can actually go into bankruptcy. So
yeah, Jefferson County.
No, that's a water authority, if I'm not mistaken.
Jefferson County.
Okay.
And
Okay, that's sidetracked. Okay, but I understand that. Okay.
And you know, since Jefferson County has gone bankrupt, there is some type of policy that the state has that they have to review before counties can do certain things.
Right. That's with everything. I mean, that's why I think the agreements, as far as before a bonding company can actually even go into an agreement, you have to have a signed agreement before you even start working on it. So those are some of the stipulations that put in place as far as trying to indemnify the counties and municipalities throughout the state of Alabama, including the state of Alabama themselves, from entering into agreements that before they're county reviewed. So I understand that from that perspective right there. But the county is not being asked for any money. We're basically asking for a cosign. Cosign, use your good name, faith, and credit to help us to get this funding agreement, to help us to get this bond. The bond is being issued in the City of York Healthcare Authority's name, not the Sumter County Commission. The Healthcare Authority is asking the Sumter County Commission to enter into a funding agreement to guarantee that this money will be paid back. The Healthcare Authority on its own does not have the financial resources to be able to float a bond on its own. Therefore, the good faith and credit of the Sumter County Commission is being asked to help keep health care in Sumter County, to help keep health care in local hands, to help the City of York and its citizens with the 1% sales tax that it pays for the last 30 years, help the City of York keep health care here in Sumter County. That's basically what it's all about. The county started paying for ambulance services probably 10, 12 years ago. Used to, the City of York had the south side, the City of Livingston had the north side. York couldn't afford to stay in the ambulance services anymore. So York went along with the county to provide ambulance service for the entirety of the county with the exception of Livingston. Livingston wanted to stay, keep their own ambulance services. Therefore, the funding agreement that we had to do to subsidize, because the population wasn't enough that it could support an independent ambulance service coming into the county, that the county had to subsidize. That's why we bid it out every 2 years for ambulance services to come in and provide ambulance service for Sumter County. So again, that's where the possibility of the increase would come in play if you didn't have a local hospital. Ms. Wilson, did you get your hand up?
No, sir. I just ask everybody to consider everything that's been said.
Commissioner Campbell, did you have any other commissioners?
I don't know if any other commissioners have any questions. I don't know. Either we move forward or table this. It's either.
So what questions have not been answered though? I mean, right now I'm just trying to figure out what questions or what concerns. And I understand the concerns that the county could eventually be held for the funding agreement. I understand that. I think everybody in the room understands it now. It's been said about 25, 30 times. We understand that there's some possibilities that the county will have to pay it back. So the alternative of the hospital closing far outweighs having to pay back $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 per year.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we move forward with the bond issue in support of Hill Hospital.
Are we voting on it tonight? That's what we're saying.
That was a motion.
That was the motion?
Yes, sir.
Well, I second the motion.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Campbell, seconded by Commissioner Hall, that we support the funding agreement and the resolution as presented by the Healthcare Authority. Any questions on the motion?
I would like to see the Board of Commissioners itself sit down and discuss this with our lawyer, Pruitt, and to get back with the hospital board as soon as possible.
I would like for us to sit down and discuss how, if we are going to go this far, how we could, whether or not we could afford to pay for an audit for the hospital.
In other words, just iron the kinks out.
Yes.
I totally agree.
Chairman, I think we should just meet among ourselves and discuss this and get back with the hospital board as soon as possible. But something I might want to say with you on the board.
Well, again, Commissioner Walker, commissioners have served. That's why commissioners serve, to be that liaison.
Yeah.
Well, my husband used to be on the hospital board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So I'm very familiar with
and that's why commissioners are there. I mean, it's not that I'm showing biasness toward the hospital authority or the commission. It's that I'm doing the same thing that you all are doing. I'm representing my citizens of my district as well as the entirety of Sumter County. And, you know, so there's nothing that has been hidden. We've been transparent about everything. Everything's been laid on the table. And now we're at a situation where an audit is a good thing. An audit will be held. But an audit will take it may take 5-6 months to do an audit. And we've already decided that we will do an audit. It will be done in 2015. It will be done in 2015. The audit will be completed.
Well, if an audit is done, then it'll iron the kinks out, possibly, find out what has been done wrong or what has been done right.
Well, again, Mr. Jackson, the authority doesn't have
better decision.
You don't have the time.
What time?
There's a
We're
lien.
gonna be living?
There's a lien already against the hospital. It's been motioned by Commissioner Campbell, seconded by Commissioner Hall. Any other further question on the motion? All in favor of the motion by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Voted against that?
Yes, sir. I can bring it back up one day. Ms. Mary, you had 2 ayes and 2 nays, 4 nays. Next agenda item.
That's it. You don't have nothing else.
Commission discussion items. Commission discussion items. I think we've already talked about ACCA district meetings. Any other questions by any of the other commission before we adjourn to go into a work session?
Motion adjourned.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Campbell, second by Commissioner Walker, that we adjourn. Work session immediately follows. All in favor of the adjournment by the sign of aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Aye. You opposed?